speaking out against the weaponization of the DOJ. He joins me right now with more on this disturbing news. Congressman, how many FBI agents have to come forward before we can all agree, left, right, and center, that the FBI might be compromised?
Yeah, Addison, I don't know if the left will ever agree with this. In fact, they like this. This is the same, the left that doesn't like the First Amendment that says, you're not allowed to talk unless you agree with me. And if you try, they're going to call you racist, extremist, all this stuff. But now what's happening is to satisfy that narrative that Joe Biden said when he called half the country fascist and extremist, we see this pattern at the FBI of it being weaponized against their political opposition. First, it was the school boards associated. Then we had whistleblowers come talk to us about the idea that they're being pressured to juice the numbers and label every case as a domestic violent extremism case. Mm-hmm. And now the most recent whistleblower said, and the way they're being forced to catalog January 6th investigations as if they're happening all over the country, they're actually cooking the books and juicing up those numbers. And again, in a way that I think satisfies this crazy narrative that the president has laid down out there that half the country are extremists. And then finally, of course, it's what you would reference in your opening, where you talked about Mr. Houck in Pennsylvania and what they did to him and his family, which just is crazy. So this is why, if we get the majority, we're gonna do the investigations that need to be done. We're gonna do it in an aggressive way. We're gonna make sure the country gets the truth and do everything we can to hold people accountable and change the way the FBI operates.
I mean, it's almost like they're flaunting it in our faces at this point, Congressman. You have grandmas who like Trump who are rotting in solitary confinement. You have guys that are doing a decade in jail for essentially trespassing. No one died on January 6th. No one died from the January 6th protest. What did it get chaotic? Did things get out of hand? Sure they did. Do people on the right condone all of the things that happen? Sure they don't. But you compare it with anything. You compare it with Jane's Revenge. You compare it to BLM. It's a speck of dust in terms of what we should be focusing our resources on. The January 6th committee is still trying to throw people in jail, trying to throw Trump in jail. That's not what we need to be focusing on right now. I'm sorry that a couple windows were broken, but we've got bigger fish to fry.
Well, and then also look at what happened to the pastor, Mr. Houck, and his family just outside of Philadelphia. Compare that to after the draft opinion was leaked about the Dobbs decision, about the pro-life decision. We had churches and crisis pregnancy centers attacked, vandalized, graffiti. I mean, all kinds of things happened. And we didn't hear of any type of real investigation and prosecution of people who engaged in that. It was like, I think, 70, 80 different places, churches and crisis pregnancy centers around the country that were attacked. And of course, not to mention what happened in front of our Supreme Court justices' homes and the threats they were under. And yet this is where they focus on this pastor praying, defending his son, based on the facts I've heard, defending his son from some person swearing in his 12-year-old's face, doing what I think fathers would do, any father would do, according to the facts at least that we've heard. So again, that is the double standard that so troubles Americans. And you're right, Addison. Just when you think, okay, this is as far as it's going to go, something worse. They raid the home of a former president. They take the phone of a sitting member of Congress, for goodness sake. They pass legislation to unleash 87,000 IRS agents to come harass we the people. So that's why people are so nervous. But I think it's going to play in a big way in the election coming up.
And what in your mind, what is the first step to bringing justice to what the FBI, what the DOJ has done? Is it impeaching Merrick Garland? I think that needs to happen very swiftly, as soon as possible. Is that where we start? Is that further on down the line? What do we do first?
Well, I think that may be where we end up. Also, when you look at the border situation, I think Secretary Mayorkas, and that'll be a decision we'll make as Republicans on the judiciary and as the Republican conference if the American people put us in the majority. But I do think it's important to get every fact out there for the country. For example, in the school board, the school board's letter to the Biden administration, and then the follow-up from Merrick Garland with the memo to treat parents as domestic terrorists and put this threat tag designation on the over 24 parents that were subsequently investigated. I'd like to know all the communication that took place prior to that initial letter being sent on September 29th of last year? Because we know that the school board was talking with the Biden White House. We know they were talking with the Department of Education. We know they were talking with the Justice Department. Did all those agencies agree that they should include in that letter referencing parents and using the Patriot Act, domestic terrorism, counterterrorism measures against parents? Did they support that? I think that's real important to know just how much bias may exist in these agencies and in the Biden administration. So those are the kind of things we're going to dig into when we subpoena folks, do the depositions we need to do to get that key information.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Congressman Jim Jordan, thank you so much for joining the show. It's a pleasure to have you on. Really appreciate all of your great work that you do for this country. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.